The Real Bio Protocol **. Welcome back to the Real Bio Protocol. Cold open **. And when the autopsy reports start coming in 20 years from now, we're going to look back at this moment and ask ourselves one question. How did we let an entire generation dissolve their own muscle tissue and call it progress? Here's a number that should terrify you. 40%. That's not a typo. That's not fear-mongering. That's the actual percentage of weight loss from GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic that comes from lean muscle mass. Not fat. Muscle. The very tissue that keeps you alive, keeps you metabolically healthy, keeps you from becoming a frail shell of a human being by age 60. Right now, over 15 million Americans are injecting themselves with semaglutide. They're watching the scale drop. They're posting before and after photos. They're celebrating. And underneath that celebration, underneath that smaller number on the scale, their bodies are cannibalizing themselves from the inside out. The pharmaceutical industry calls this a revolution. The fitness industry calls this a shortcut. I call it the greatest metabolic heist in modern medical history. Because they're not just taking your money. They're taking the one thing your body needs to survive long-term, and they're doing it with a smile, a prescription pad, and a stock price that won't stop climbing. This is the Ozempic crisis nobody in medicine wants to address. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your doctor never told you the truth. ACT1. The problem *. Let's start with what they told you. What the commercials told you. What the influencers and the celebrities and the morning talk shows told you. They told you that obesity is a disease. They told you that willpower doesn't work. They told you that GLP-1 receptor agonists like Ozempic and Wegovy are miracle drugs. FDA approved, clinically tested, safe and effective for long-term weight management. They told you the side effects are minor. A little nausea, maybe some constipation, nothing you can't handle. What they didn't tell you is what happens to your body composition when you lose weight this fast without any resistance to preserve muscle. What they didn't tell you is that the clinical trials measured success by one metric and one metric only: total pounds lost. Not where those pounds came from. Not whether you were healthier. Not whether you'd be able to function as a human being at 70 years old. See, the medical establishment has this obsession with the scale. Body mass index. Total weight. Numbers that tell you absolutely nothing about what's actually happening inside your body. You could lose 50 pounds of pure muscle and gain 10 pounds of visceral fat, and on paper, you'd look like a success story. And that's exactly what's happening to millions of people right now. The studies are already coming out. A 2023 study published in JAMA Network Open found that participants on semaglutide lost significant amounts of lean body mass. We're talking about skeletal muscle. The kind your body desperately needs to maintain metabolic rate, insulin sensitivity, and basic physical function. Another study from the University of Copenhagen found that without resistance training, GLP-1 users lost muscle at nearly the same rate as fat. But here's the really sinister part. Your doctor probably doesn't know this. Or if they do know it, they don't think it matters. Because in the medical model, weight loss equals health. Full stop. End of conversation. The fact that you might be trading 40 extra years of functional life for a smaller dress size? That's not their problem. That's not on the prescription label. And the pharmaceutical companies? They're making billions. Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic and Wegovy, saw their market cap explode past $400 billion. That's not a typo either. $400 billion. They are now one of the most valuable companies in Europe, and every single dollar of that valuation is built on the assumption that this drug is safe, effective, and sustainable. But what happens when the truth comes out? What happens when a generation of success stories starts showing up with metabolic syndrome, osteoporosis, sarcopenia, and complete inability to maintain their weight loss? What happens when the skinny fat epidemic becomes impossible to ignore? I'll tell you what happens. They'll blame you. They'll say you didn't exercise enough. They'll say you didn't eat enough protein. They'll say it was your fault for not doing the work alongside the medication. And the lawsuits will start. And the rebranding will start. And a new, safer, drug will hit the market. And the cycle will continue. Unless you understand what's actually happening to your body. Unless you make an informed decision based on real science instead of pharmaceutical marketing. ACT2. The hidden truth *. Here's what they don't want you to know. The weight loss mechanism of GLP-1 drugs doesn't discriminate between fat and muscle. Your body doesn't care what tissue it's breaking down. It only cares about energy balance. And when you suppress appetite to the point where people are eating 800 to 1,000 calories a day, which is common on these medications, your body enters a state of metabolic emergency. In that state, your body doesn't just burn fat. It burns whatever is available. And muscle tissue? Muscle tissue is expensive. It requires calories to maintain. It requires protein synthesis. It requires energy. So when your body is in a massive caloric deficit, it looks at your muscle mass and says, you know what? We don't need this. This is costing us resources we don't have. This is basic survival physiology. This is what happens in starvation. This is what happens in anorexia. And this is what's happening to millions of Americans who think they're getting healthy because the scale says so. A landmark study published in Obesity in 2022 examined body composition changes in semaglutide users over 68 weeks. The results should have made headlines. Participants lost an average of 15% of their body weight. Sounds great, right? But when researchers looked at where that weight came from, they found that approximately 39% of the total weight loss was lean body mass. Not fat, muscle and other metabolically active tissue. Let me put that in perspective. If you lose 50 pounds on Ozempic, about 20 of those pounds might be muscle. 20 pounds of muscle that took years to build. 20 pounds of muscle that was protecting your joints, supporting your skeleton, maintaining your metabolic rate, and keeping you insulin sensitive. And here's the kicker. When you eventually stop taking the drug, and statistically, most people do, you will regain weight. But you won't regain muscle. You'll regain fat, because building muscle requires resistance training, adequate protein, and time. Gaining fat just requires eating more than you burn. So you end up in a worse position than when you started. Lighter on the scale, maybe. But with a higher body fat percentage, lower metabolic rate, worse insulin sensitivity, and a body that's primed to store fat more efficiently than ever before. This is the dirty secret of pharmaceutical weight loss. The rebound is built into the business model. They need you to come back. They need you to stay on the drug forever. Because the moment you stop, the weight comes back, but your muscle doesn't. And now we need to talk about something you've probably seen but might not have understood. Ozempic face. ACT3. The mechanism ** Ozempic face isn't just a cosmetic issue. It's a warning sign. It's your body telling you that something is fundamentally wrong with how this weight loss is happening. When people lose muscle mass rapidly, they don't just lose it from their arms and legs. They lose it everywhere, including their face. The gaunt, hollow, aged appearance that's become so common among GLP-1 users isn't just about fat loss. It's about the loss of the muscular and connective tissue that gives the face its structure, its fullness, its youth. But let's go deeper. Let's talk about what GLP-1 drugs actually do at the cellular level, because understanding the mechanism will help you understand why this is happening. GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a hormone your body naturally produces in the gut in response to food. When you eat, GLP-1 is released, and it does several things. It signals your pancreas to release insulin. It slows gastric emptying so food stays in your stomach longer, and it acts on your brain to reduce appetite. Semaglutide is a synthetic version of GLP-1 that's been modified to last much longer in your body. Instead of being broken down in minutes like natural GLP-1, semaglutide sticks around for days. This creates a constant, unrelenting suppression of appetite that goes far beyond what your body was designed to handle. Here's where it gets interesting, and where the muscle loss starts to make sense. When you're in a severe caloric deficit, your body increases cortisol production. Cortisol is a catabolic hormone. That means it breaks things down. One of the things it breaks down? Muscle tissue. Your body literally starts digesting its own muscle to free up amino acids for other critical functions. At the same time, when you're not eating enough protein, which is almost inevitable when your appetite is suppressed to the point of eating a few hundred calories a day, your body can't maintain muscle protein synthesis. Muscle is constantly being broken down and rebuilt. It's a dynamic tissue. When you don't have adequate amino acids coming in from your diet, the breakdown exceeds the rebuilding. And you lose muscle. Additionally, GLP-1 drugs appear to affect muscle directly. Research published in Cell Metabolism in 2023 suggested that GLP-1 receptors exist in skeletal muscle tissue, and that chronic activation of these receptors may actually impair muscle protein synthesis independent of caloric intake. This is still being studied, but the implications are terrifying. The drug itself might be directly contributing to muscle loss, not just the caloric deficit it creates. And then there's the thyroid issue. GLP-1 drugs carry a black box warning for medullary thyroid carcinoma based on animal studies. Your thyroid regulates your metabolism. Mess with your thyroid, and you mess with everything, including your body's ability to preserve muscle during weight loss. The endocrine system is not a toy. It's not something you inject with a synthetic hormone and expect no consequences. Every system in your body is interconnected, and when you artificially manipulate one pathway, you create ripple effects that we're only beginning to understand. ACT 4, Real-World Application *. So what do you actually do with this information? Let me be clear. I'm not telling you to never use GLP-1 drugs. I'm telling you to make an informed decision. And if you do choose to use them, there are specific steps you need to take to minimize muscle loss and maximize your chances of long-term success. First, resistance training is non-negotiable. Not cardio, not walking, resistance training, heavy compound movements that force your body to preserve muscle tissue. If you're on a GLP-1 drug and you're not lifting weights at least 3 times per week, you're guaranteeing muscle loss. Your body needs a reason to keep that muscle around, and resistance training provides that reason. Second, protein intake must be dramatically increased. The standard recommendations of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight are laughably inadequate for anyone in a caloric deficit, let alone a severe one. You should be consuming at minimum 1.2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. Yes, pound, not kilogram. This is hard when your appetite is suppressed, which is why protein shakes, collagen supplements, and strategic meal planning become essential. Third, monitor your body composition, not just your weight. Get a DEXA scan before you start and every 3 to 6 months while you're on the medication. This will tell you exactly how much fat versus muscle you're losing. If you see lean mass dropping faster than fat mass, you need to adjust your approach immediately. Fourth, consider a slower approach. The people experiencing the worst muscle loss are the ones losing weight the fastest. If your doctor is pushing for rapid weight loss, push back. A slower rate of loss, 1 to 1.5 pounds per week maximum, gives your body time to adapt and preserve muscle tissue. Fifth, understand that this is not a permanent solution. The data on long-term GLP-1 use is limited. The data on what happens when you stop is clear. Most people regain the weight. Plan your exit strategy from day one. Build the habits, the muscle, and the metabolic health that will allow you to maintain your progress without the drug. Sixth, consider the alternatives. Peptides like tesamorelin, which specifically target visceral fat while preserving muscle. Properly designed intermittent fasting protocols that enhance growth hormone secretion. Metabolic optimization through thyroid and hormone testing. These approaches may be slower, but they don't carry the same risk of muscle devastation. ACT 5, the bigger picture *. Let me zoom out for a moment and ask you a question. Who benefits from you being weak? Think about it. A population with low muscle mass is a population with low metabolic rates. Low insulin sensitivity. High dependency on pharmaceutical interventions. High healthcare costs. High compliance. Muscle is independence. Muscle is resilience. Muscle is the ability to age without becoming frail, to maintain your mobility, to live without assistance, to function as a sovereign human being. Muscle is the single greatest predictor of longevity and quality of life in old age. And we're watching an entire generation voluntarily dissolve it because a pharmaceutical company told them the scale is all that matters. This isn't about vanity. This isn't about looking good at the beach. This is about your ability to pick up your grandchildren. Your ability to climb stairs at 70. Your ability to recover from a fall, fight off illness, maintain cognitive function, and live with dignity in your final decades. The medical establishment doesn't think about these things. They think about quarterly metrics. They think about liability. They think about what they can document in your chart that protects them from lawsuits. But you have to live in your body for the rest of your life. You have to face the consequences of these decisions in 20, 30, 40 years. And when that time comes, no one is going to care about what the scale said in 2024. You deserve to know the truth. You deserve to make decisions based on complete information. You deserve a body that's not just lighter, but actually healthier, stronger, and more resilient. The pharmaceutical companies don't want you thinking this way. They want you compliant. They want you dependent. They want you coming back for your weekly injection, month after month, year after year, watching your muscle waste away while they watch their stock price climb. Don't let them win. The science is out there. They just don't want you finding it. That's why we're here. This is the Real Bio Protocol.